My name is Vahid Chitsaz, part of the Elite Mastermind group. Thank you for being here this morning. Let's dive into it. Where are you coming from?
I am coming to you live from San Francisco, California. So good morning from the West Coast. Super beautiful.
Awesome, awesome. We're in LA, so we're like 6 hours away.
Yep.
That's nice. That's nice. Let's dive into it. Diana, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
When did you get started? How did you get started?
So let me tell you a little bit about me and what drove me into getting started into Think and Grow Rich. I, over 7 years ago, lost two of my sisters to death. One had cancer and one committed suicide. So it was just like the worst time. Thank you. It was the worst time in my life. And I, because my sister committed suicide, I knew depression was not an option for me. I was super overwhelmed with grief, and I just really, really wanted to figure out, how do I manage this? How do I help? How do I get myself out of this rut and just get out of this depression? So when you start to ask questions, things will lead you to the right path. And one of the books I picked up was Think and Grow Rich. And I really love this book. Like, it is still my favorite book. It is one of my top 10 favorite books that just so many different people kept telling me about it. I arrived to it, I read it, and it resonated with me at a soul level. And I knew, like, this man, like, he interviewed everybody from the 20s who was who's who, you know, like, he knows something. These people have gone through a lot of different things. And I always was just so impressed that, like, you know, this is like during the Great Depression. So in my mind, it was like, if somebody can overcome through the Great Depression and learn and still be successful, like, I got to take some of those nuggets and the wisdom and start applying it. So that's how I came about it. It's just like the universe sent it to me right at the time that I really needed it.
That is awesome. So let me ask you a question. When you initially picked up the book, what were the couple of important things that you got out of it that you thought that you could implement right away?
Oh man, the first chapter, having a burning desire, is so critical. I think, like, for me, you know, I know a lot of individuals read this book from an entrepreneur's perspective. For me, it was like, I have this burning desire to not stay depressed, you know, and it was just like, okay, what does this mean? And so it was like something about, like, setting that desire, writing down how I wanted to feel, writing down how it would, like, what it would look like and what it was in my belly. It's just like, not only did I, like, start to implement by reading my desire statement and, like, reading it and reviewing it, and I have a journal, I have all these things. That was, like, the first thing I did. And then I, like, transformed into, like, this burning desire to help other people, because I was, like, helping myself, and I was feeling so alive, and I still feel alive, and I'm just, like, excited about life. And I was like, man, what if, like, people do this for themselves? So that was, like, first and foremost, the first one I did. The second one I did, as I started to realize how much I wanted to help other people, was the Mastermind with the board. And you know how he talks about how he had Abraham Lincoln come talk to him in his dream? I was like, all right, who would be on my board of directors? And, you know, I've always wanted to be, like, surrounded by very influential women. So in my board of directors, it's Oprah. Like, I have her on my vision board, you know, and I have Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who is, like, the first Latina on the Supreme Court justice. So, you know, I started to build this real board of directors in my mind, and these women are on my vision board. And so, and when I'm, like, feeling, like, just kind of uninspired in my coaching business, I look to the women on my vision board, and they are in my advisory board, because that, to me, I think is so critical, to see them, visualize them, and feel as if you're talking to them. And of course, to me, Oprah speaks back to me in my head, you know. So, two critical steps. Two critical steps.
What you bring up is very good, especially when individuals are in the point in their lives where they do need to have that support system and be able to clean up their head and their thoughts, where they could take in, like, I think Mastermind Group helps you be more coachable, meaning you're now in a state where you are able to receive. And when you receive, it's based on them having had the experience, they've gone through the challenges, turbulences, now they're giving you kind of the juice. So you don't have to go through all those struggles, you're kind of shortcutting yourself to the success, or on the path on whatever desire that you have, the burning desire that you have. Now let me ask you a question. How are you helping people?
So I'm a grief coach. I help people that want to transition, not be depressed, that know that there's a purpose that's much greater than themselves. So the real thing I hope is like helping people out of grief and really springboard into the magic of their life, which is redefining their life, living their life on their own terms, not settling for any of the shit, you know, that sometimes we're conditioned to learn, and just doing it, you know. And so it's amazing. I work one-on-one with people. I have grief dinners at my house. We commune over food and talk about the reality of death, you know, and everybody unfortunately will lose somebody that they love at some point in their life. And so my mission is to, like my other burning desires, to make grief a topic of conversation, make it safe, let people know that there's places to come and receive information and really be supported. That to me is super, super critical. And the thing you said about masterminds and clearing your thoughts, it is so critical in death in particular, because everybody and their mama would be like, oh, it happens for a reason. And then nobody tells you shit. Like nobody follows up with you. You know, you're feeling all depressed, you're feeling super alone. And it's like, no, we need to be in a community of a mastermind of like-minded people that want to springboard, want to feel better, and really like support each other. So to me, that's part of the reason I do these dinners, because I want it to make it an open conversation and also let people know that they're going to be able to recover. They're not going to be stuck in this depression if they choose not to be, you know, stuck. So that to me is super important.
So is it based on your experience that when you surround yourself with other individuals, that the level of depression maybe is less? Is that true? Does that
For sure. Yeah. It's the same the way when you surround yourself with like-minded successful entrepreneurs, where you're like, oh shit, I got to start thinking bigger. It's the same thing with grief. It's like, oh man, I need to like think about how do I give back? How do I like make it more powerful? Like what would my loved one want me to do? For me, my sisters, who were the ones that passed away, they would not want me to be depressed. Like that's for sure. You know, they always wanted the best for me. And so that's who I use to like encourage me to like, well, what would my sisters want me to do? And it's not for me to stay depressed. That's for sure. So when you're surrounded likewise with entrepreneurship and you're surrounded by successful people already making 7 figures, you're like, your mind starts to explore different ways on like, how do I go after that and like be successful? Is it, you know, like you start thinking all these great ideas that you hadn't even crossed your mind. It's the same thing with death and the grief support. Like you're starting to think like, you know what, this happens, well fuck it, I'm gonna recover and I'm gonna feel better, and like maybe I start to like go after and do the things I never had the courage to do, right? Like some people start to travel more, those type of things, because they realize they really know life is too short. And so surrounding yourself and realizing you're not alone will pick you up out of that funk. So yes.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Yeah.
When my grandpa passed away, I saw that my mom, for like 6 months, she wasn't my mom. And it was just like every week or every month she went down and she did her prayers and the whole ritual that they do. But I noticed that I lost a grandparent, but she lost a father. It was a different level of grief. It's different. Yeah. It's much deeper. And that's how, so I noticed that a lot of individuals, when they lose someone, especially a loved one, someone that's close to them, they do need that 4, 5, 6, 7 months, sometimes a little bit more, to just be okay with it. Why? Yeah. Because now there's a vacuum, there's a hole over there. You had this person that you could communicate, talk to, do dinners, do breakfast, or text message, or do this. They were part of your life, and all of a sudden, you know that they're no longer there. Exactly. So I saw that. So definitely it was a paradigm shift for me, because I saw it. It wasn't that we were just talking about it. When you talk about it, a lot of people don't feel it as much because it hasn't happened to you. Exactly. So once it does happen, then you understand that life is short. And then you realize how valuable that trust, that love, that care, that personal relationship, how important it was, how much value it holds, you know, or it had before, because now that person is no longer there. So I understand. But I don't think anybody's loved one wants them to be in depression or cry over their death. I understand that you do that for, you know, you're sorry for that happened, but it's got its own time. You can't be grieving for the rest of your life. Nobody wants that. When I die, I don't want anybody to do that for me. Like, I know that. You know, I don't want my baby, I don't want my wife. That's not what I want for the loved ones that I leave behind. So that's one of the things that people need to understand, that they need to move on with their life and have the best life. Yeah. Because that's probably what the loved ones would have wanted for them.
Absolutely. And the other funny paradigm shift is like, you can never forget your loved one. You'll never forget your grandfather. And so all you can do is like live with his memory and honor him and remember him, and still go out and live the best life you could possibly live for yourself. And that's what it comes down to. Like, you still have your life that you're responsible for, you know.
Right.
And then coming back to the Think and Grow Rich, like I would say the third element I got was really around, you know, like just taking action, you know, like going out there. And if you really do these principles, so many great things happen. You know, like it's just the world starts to unfold in this magical way. And you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't have even imagined, you know, like going from where I came from to like where I am now, the fact that I'm helping people in this area, and then I'm like happy, you know, it's just like nuts, right? Like to take that loss and really become happy. And that's what I gather the most from Think and Grow Rich is like everybody there is successful, not because yes, they are successful financially, but really I see that everybody was successful in doing what they were good at, you know. And so I really feel everybody has unique gifts and unique capabilities that they need to bring to the world. And what would happen if everybody just starts to do that versus doing all the stuff that everybody's conditioned to do? I think life would be a lot better.
I agree with that 100%. Do you make it, what type of materials do you tell the individuals to watch or read as they're going through this journey in their lives? Do you tell them that you read Think and Grow Rich? Is that part of the curriculum? Do you assign them something? Or how do you go about the reading materials and the audio materials? What do you recommend?
You know, what's funny is I actually do more audio materials that take snippets of everything I've read to share with individuals. If I gave Think and Grow Rich, like after somebody's passed away within a month, they would be like, what are you talking about, my burning desire? All I know is I feel like crap. So I'm more strategic and like, let's take the nuggets, the wisdom, let's put it into these IGTVs, let's share it. And that energy, because nobody can deny what I've gone through, you know, that can't be denied. So that is what gives people inspiration, and that's how I do it.
I love it. Diana, I want to thank you so much for taking this time and being with us today. I definitely want to do it more. I think we should do a course on this whole entire process. Absolutely. The reason why I say that, I think, is there are a lot of people that I don't feel that the support system is there. And I don't know if there are, I know they exist, there are centers, there are facilities, there are a lot of places you can turn into. But if you're, like, for example, let's say if I lose a loved one right now, I wouldn't know where to go. Yeah. Like I would have no idea where to go. Yeah. Like I could Google it, I could search it, but it's not something that I was told beforehand that, hey, you know, these are available to you if in case you ever need it. And it doesn't have to be you lose a loved one. And you know, it's so funny that we talk about it. I have had friends where they lost a pet, a dog or a cat, and that was sometimes more hurtful than them losing someone that they loved, because they have had that, like, you know, they kind of, you know, it was a little baby, you know, puppy, and they kind of raised that. So it doesn't have to be a human being death. It could be anything else that you've had, or any other, you know, attachment that you have had to something else. Absolutely. And actually, one thing I work with my clients is there's more than 40 types of griefs that have been identified. Loss of career, unfulfilled dreams, a divorce, pet, such a huge like loss that is real, you know, like, I mean, I still remember my first dog dying when I was 7, you know, like that's still, like, I still get sad about it. So it's real, and it is not something to be like ashamed, swept under the rug. No, there is so much with loss and grief, and I really feel like my burning desire is to make it a topic of conversation. We got to like spread the word and just let people know it's okay, you know, like, and also give people the tools on how to springboard in surviving and recovering for that. Because it isn't about like you lose somebody and now your life is over. It's actually like, now that you've lost somebody, now's the time to really create the life you've always wanted, because you know that life is too short. So I'm all with you with that. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much for taking this time.